Would you like to come out today? Oh, yes, please, said Edward. So they lit his fire, made lots of steam, and Edward puffed away.
I got a ton of questions in the last episode. Thanks for all the questions, guys. Fact 1. Every year, the Vicarstown Tramway holds a tram gala to celebrate the long history of trams in the town. Toby and Flora are usually present, as are trams from the mainland. The narrow gauge trams of the island are also usually there, on a demonstration track near the Vicarstown Transport Museum. Near the end of the gala, a huge cavalcade of trams can be seen running through the streets. Fact 2. Ryan is an LNER N2, built in 1929. He works suburban trains in London along with a few of his brothers and sisters, who he doesn't like to talk about much for some reason. He's not known for accidents, in fact quite the opposite. The only accident on his record was one he had in 1946. He would eventually be saved from scrap in 1968, and now runs the Normie branch along with Arthur. He's painted blue with red stripes. Fact 3. The engines of Sodor enjoy watching several train-themed TV shows. These include Thomas and Friends, of course, Jimmy the Ginty, a series created by a man named D.C. Beatel, and Norwich, a sitcom-style series about a small fleet of engines trying to keep their railway alive. Fact 4. When British Railways was designing their heavy freight standard type, Barbara Hatt, the chief engineer of Crowden's Gate at the time, would submit a design for 282 Mikado type. Eventually, BR would choose the 210 design, but a 7 1/4 inch gauge model of the Mikado design, nicknamed Bigger Bertha, would be built by a model maker in Tidmouth. The model is still around today, and can usually be seen at the various 7 1/4 inch gauge railways on Sodor. Fact 5. During the Northwestern's British Rail period, Crowden's Gate would be contracted by BR to build their standard classes. Most of these classes would never work on Sodor, except for one, who was rescued from Barry Island and brought back to where he was built. Anyway, when the NWR split from BR in '65, Crowden's Gate, which is now a part of the NWR, beforehand it was a subsidiary, was left with a bunch of BR standard parts just sitting in storage. To make some use out of these spares, the works would design several of its own standard locomotives, ones best suited to submarine conditions. These were really only standard in the fact they had shared parts. All of the classes only had 2 to 3 members. Now for the questions. Cartman the Thomas fan asks, which branch line has had the least amount of crashes? That would be the Normie branch, only having 3 recorded incidents in the entirety of its existence. This makes sense given that Arthur and Ryan are the ones running it. Cartman also asks, does Ulstead Castle exist? If so, who works there? Ulstead Castle does exist, in a similar fashion to how it's portrayed in CGI, but of course, without tracks inside the actual castle. Instead, there's just a station next to it, although my version would include a station building, or perhaps a simple canopy. Like in CGI, there'd be platforms for both standard and narrow gauge trains, as the Ulstead Heritage Railway terminates at the castle. The UHR's sheds are also located here, along with a museum. Flora and Glyn live there. Mr. Toaster and Clay asks, what are the names of the loaned engines and what classes are they? I can't tell you guys the names of the loaned lot because spoilers, but I can tell you guys they're in classes. They consist of a Furnace Railway D5, a GER Class S69, an NER Class S3, a Caledonian Railway 191 class, and an LNWR Clawton. I'll let you guys guess which class is which loaned engine. Home of the Steam Team asks, what was the worst accident on Sodor that involved a passenger train? That would be the wreck of 23, or the Great Knapford Rail Accident. This accident occurred at Knapford Harbor, or what is now known as the Old Knapford Harbor. The bridge crossing the branch line entrance to the harbor would collapse, just after a local passenger train was signaled onto the section. The loco flew off the bridge and into the harbor below, killing 31 people and injuring several hundred more. Craig Dowling Productions asks, if Barry is the only steam engine Apple red, then what paint job would James be in? James's unique livery has been coined as Sunset Red by the painters at Crowden's Gate. Fun fact, the lining is actually the same shade of blue as cobalt blue. Also, Barry isn't the only engine in Apple Red. He's just the first one to wear it. One of the freight engines and the engine that runs the loop line both wear the livery. Sorry I couldn't answer everybody's questions this time. There were just so many. I'll try to get to most of them as the series goes on. They've given me so many ideas for my AU. This is EdwardsDayOut, signing off.